What's up, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. And today, folks, we are looking at Daredevil issue number 20. This issue was released in June of 1966, and the cover date is September of 1966. And we are going to see the return of one of Daredevil's earliest villains. That's right, we are going to see the second appearance of the Owl. The Owl returns after we haven't seen him since issue number 3. And so now we see the return of the Owl. Will Daredevil be able to escape the clutches of the Owl? And we're going to just look into this classic issue of Daredevil as we continue to look at the Volume 1 series of Daredevil. So the verdict is death. Let's go ahead now and get started. We have a guest artist on this issue. In the past few issues, we've seen that John Romita Sr. was the one that was doing the artwork. Well, today, for the first time, we see Gene Colan is going to be the artist on the story, because Jazzy Johnny Romita at the time was doing a 25-cent Spider-Man special. I believe he may have been doing annual at that point, maybe I think annual number 3. So he was busy doing that. So Gene Colan stepped in to be a substitute for this issue. We have Stan Lee on the script here. We also have Mickey DeMeo on the inking, Artie Simek on the lettering page, and Irving Forbush being the bad guy booer, whatever that means. But anyway, guys, let's go ahead and start this issue off. We see that Daredevil is going to be making his way back to his office here as Matt Murdock. He's going to change to his civilian identity when all of a sudden he notices some whispers in the background here. If you don't know and you can't remember, Daredevil has an uncanny sense of a radar sense where he can detect heartbeats, and he can hear unlike any other human. He has superhuman hearing because he's blind. And so Daredevil notices some whispers in the background, and these three crooks here are searching for Matt Murdock. They were lying in the background to capture Matt Murdock. And why are they looking for Matt Murdock? Well, we're going to find out here in this issue. And if you think as to who they're working for, well, they're working for the Owl. And for some reason, the Owl wants Matt Murdock. But we're going to find out exactly why as we continue to look at this story here. Well, Daredevil is going to make easy work out of these guys here as Gene Colan draws some very fantastic scenes here, action scenes. And we see that these guys are going to get out of the way here. That they have no chance against Daredevil. And so what they're going to do now is they're going to travel to Matt Murdock's apartment. That's the only other place that Matt Murdock could be at this time of night. Well, Daredevil catches on and he's like, well, dang, I need to get there in a hurry because that's exactly where they're going to go. So he, gets out of the window, leaps out the window rather, and then he's going to get there as soon as he can, but he just can't beat the speed of a car. And these guys are going to get there first before Daredevil gets there. And he notices that they beat Daredevil to the punch here. And now these guys are inside Matt Murdock's apartment. And they notice that Matt Murdock is not there. Why is that? Well, of course, Matt Murdock is Daredevil. So Daredevil's not going, as Matt Murdock is not going to be two places at once. So they're like, where could Matt Murdock be at this time of night? He's a blind man. Where would he be exactly? So they start searching throughout Matt Murdock's apartment. Matt Murdock definitely has it all together here. I mean, he has a pretty nice apartment. And they note that here in this issue. Well, we see that Daredevil is going to silently grab Matt Murdock's coats here so he can change back to Matt Murdock. Because Daredevil is very interested as to why these three men are searching for him. And so Daredevil grabs the coat, changes back to Matt Murdock on this ledge here, which is dangerous enough. And he's going to sneakily get back into the apartment here without letting these guys notice. And while they're in the other room, he goes into the living room. They hear the door open, and they tell Matt Murdock that their boss, wants him, and that he's basically needed to go and defend someone in a trial. And if you lose, it's curtains for him. And so, who exactly is the guy that Matt Murdock is going to defend, and who exactly who are they working for? Well, we know that it's the Owl, but Matt Murdock at this point doesn't know that. Well, he gets on this plane. He has no choice in the matter. He's going to play along, and while Matt Murdock is on the plane traveling to this island, we see Foggy Nelson and Karen Page is going to pay a visit to Matt Murdock. They're wondering where could he be. Seems like every time that they try to search for him, he's always gone. And this is starting to get to Karen Page here. As we have seen in the past few issues, she definitely has some interest towards Matt Murdock. But we also know for a fact that Foggy Nelson has some feelings for Karen Page. But we see here that with Foggy Nelson, he says, if only I knew how much of her feeling for him is sympathy and how much is something far deeper. So the love triangle here continues, but we will focus on Foggy Nelson and Karen Page next issue. But for now, let's look on where this plane is headed as it makes touchdown here at this island. And this is where Matt Murdock is going to go to this very ancient castle here and meet the villain of this issue, which is none other than the Owl. And he notices that the plane has arrived and he is ready for the big scheme of what he has planned this entire time. Well, the man who is going to be the person that Matt Murdock defends is none other than Judge Lewis. If you look way back in issue number 3, Judge Lewis sentenced the Owl to prison, and now, since the Owl has gotten out of prison and taken Judge Lewis hostage, the Owl's big plan here is that he is going to run his own trial in his own way, and that he wants Judge Lewis to be sentenced guilty, and the sentence is death. All because he's going to take revenge on Judge Lewis because Judge Lewis sentenced the Owl to prison. And all of the jury are these scummy criminals that Judge Lewis had sentenced to prison as well. So it's going to be a very unfair trial, as we see in this issue. And Matt Murdock, who is going to be defending Judge Lewis, doesn't really stand a chance. So this is what we're dealing with here in this issue, is the Owl is going to instruct his men to gather Matt Murdock, bring him to the castle, and the trial, this very quick trial, is going to take place. And finally, Matt Murdock reaches the entrance here, and he finally is going to give all the information he needs to know about what the heck is going on, that he's going to be defending Judge Lewis, and that this is going to be a very unfair trial because the Owl is going to be the judge of this trial. Well, we see here that Matt Murdock is going to try to stall a little here, and he's going to tell the Owl here that, hey, this doesn't go by so quickly. This needs to be a little fair. How about I find some witnesses here on this island so that at least Judge Lewis will have a little bit of a chance. So the Owl listens and he's like, okay, but you have like 5 minutes to go find somebody, and if you don't return, I'm going to go ahead and just make the sentence right here that Judge Lewis is sentenced guilty. So this gives Matt Murdock a chance to get out of the room just in time so he can change to Daredevil, and that's exactly what he's going to do here. And so while all these guys are fussing at each other because their loyalty to the Owl is not that strong, as we see here as they're griping at each other, Daredevil gets out of the room, and then they notice that as a minute passes, the door creaks open, a red glove is shown, and it's like, how could this be? Who is that scarlet glove? And this is an awesome splash page drawn by Gene Colan here as Daredevil makes his way on the scene here. And this is where we're going to get into some great action here as Daredevil is going to fight the Owl's men here so that he can save Judge Lewis, but he also has to worry about the Owl here and what kind of threat he has in this issue. Well, the Owl is instructing his men to take Daredevil down, but these guys just don't stand a chance. Daredevil is definitely, making good work out of these guys. Well, we see the Owl. He's going to try to stop Daredevil with these these pool balls here, and that's not going to really work at all. These billiard balls, that's not going to work. But then the Owl, he flies up in the air. He activates a switch here, and then the Daredevil is going to be trapped in one of the Owl's cages here, and now Daredevil is trapped in this cage, and Owl says, and now Daredevil, it is the Owl who shall call the tune, and it is you who will face the music. The trap has been baited, the victims are caught, the trial is ended, and the verdict is death. How will Daredevil get out of this trap here? How will he save Judge Lewis from being sentenced to death? We will find all this out in issue number 21. Be there, because we definitely want to find out what happens next. The trap is sprung. Hope to see you there in issue number 21 as we review that in the next video. But otherwise, comment down below what you liked about this issue. What are your predictions as to what's going to happen next? Like this video, subscribe if you have not, and I will see y'all in the next one.